Professionals spend nearly half the work week on written communication, so focus is important. With Grammarly as your AI writing partner, focus and quickly get through work with relevant real-time suggestions. And it works across 500,000 apps and websites, so you can sound more confident and persuasive wherever you write. 93% of professionals report that Grammarly helps them get more work done. Download Grammarly for free at grammarly.com/podcast. That's grammarly.com/podcast.
Every idea starts with a problem. Warby Parker's was simple. Glasses are too expensive. So they set out to change that. By designing glasses in-house and selling directly to customers, they're able to offer prescription eyewear that's expertly crafted and unexpectedly affordable. Warby Parker glasses are made from premium materials like impact-resistant polycarbonate and custom acetate. And they start at just $95, including prescription lenses. Get glasses made from the good stuff. Stop by a Warby Parker store near you.
Welcome to Ghostly.
Is the Dybbuk Box cursed?
Prepare to shiver. Ghostly is your bi-weekly dose of the paranormal. We unearth chilling ghost stories and examine the evidence with a critical eye. Rebecca hunts down the legends, while I, your friendly neighborhood skeptic, poke holes in her theories. And in the end, you, the listener, get to decide, is it genuine haunting or just entirely hokum? As always, we're your host. I'm Pat.
And I'm Rebecca.
So,
that was new.
Yeah, I'm trying something new,
Hokum.
Hokum, yeah.
I'm guessing that's not the opposite of haunting.
Yes.
Or haunting.
It is complete gibberish.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to get back in the swing of things and do a normal episode. I mean, Manifestations was really cool. I think it was like ghostly self-help kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like, I guess you could take that any which way you want. If you want to put spirit into it, you can put spirit into it. If you're like me and are like, nope, this is just inspiration for your mind, you can take it as that. And I enjoyed that episode.
It was super fun.
Jacob is always a pleasure to work with.
So much fun. But yeah, definitely excited for the new year.
Yeah. And so I had this idea. I wanted to do haunted items. Now, this came as an AI suggestion for us, so just be aware.
Okay.
Because I asked, what kind of episodes should we do on Ghostly? And it gave me a bunch of things that we've already done. But the haunted items really intrigued me because, like, as I was looking into it, I realized dolls are items, right?
Sure.
So we have done haunted items before, but I am talking about other things.
So, other than dolls.
Yeah, I consider dolls like its own separate thing, you know?
There's so many haunted dolls out there, but
Annabelle and your favorite Robert the Doll.
those are the two episodes.
Yeah.
So go back and look up those if you haven't listened to those. I mean, they're both really good.
And Island of the Dolls.
Oh, yes. There's also Island of the Dolls. They're all really good. So I guess, go check them out. But we're stepping away from just dolls.
Yes. So they call it the most haunted object in the world, the Dybbuk Box. It's linked to a string of tragedies, including multiple deaths, a stroke, and even cursing the career of a major musician.
Dun, dun, dun.
In this episode, we're going to look into its chilling history of the infamous artifact.
Oh, I like that. Infamous artifact.
Yeah. So
and this isn't going to be the last episode of these.
No. We're gonna do a couple in a row.
Yeah.
And then maybe revisit this at some point.
Yeah. It's not going to be
as
over.
we do.
Yeah.
As we do. So I have never heard of the Dybbuk Box. Rebecca, have you heard of it?
I have heard of it.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yes. So when you mentioned it, I was like, know this one.
Okay. So, I mean, spoiler alert, actually, Rebecca did tell me when I asked her about the Dybbuk Box, she said, oh my God, that is actually too haunted. And you didn't want to do this episode, did you?
That is absolutely true.
Okay. So
Yes.
let's go into some detail here then.
All right. So how I know this is because of a movie called The Possession.
The Possession.
That came out 2021, I want to say. It's something. I forget. I apologize.
I have not seen the movie.
I looked it up, but now I don't remember the year it came out. But anyways, but I remember it. Like, I mean, I watch a lot of horror movies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But this...
You're an aficionado.
Aficionado.
That's it. Aficionado.
Of horror movies. I mean, I watch a few a month at least.
Yeah.
But this is 2012. See, this is how old I am. Like, it's a really old movie. And I'm pretty
2012 and 2021 mean the same thing to me.
There you go. They do, really. They seem about the same amount of fire. Right. But and I'm pretty sure I saw it I saw it in the theater. So anyways.
In the theater.
Yes.
Wow.
So this movie was about this object, and we're going to talk all about the story of the object and on all of that. But basically, this family ends up with the object. Things go horribly, horribly wrong for them, of course. And
wait, I mean, we're not going to do an episode where things just turn out great.
Yeah.
Why don't we ever do those kind of episodes?
And then, I don't know, because that wouldn't be any fun.
Okay.
And then, in the end, it's like one of those endings where like you think it's okay, but then it's not okay, or whatever. So there was room for a sequel, but I don't think that ever happened.
Dybbuk 2?
Dybbuk 2.
The Return of the Box?
The Return of the Box. The box strikes again.
Yeah.
Now, I also have seen other movies with Dybbuks as part of them, and so
we're going to get into that.
We'll get into all of that. So
you have to give me something to talk about.
Well, I was just going to say, like, at first I was a little confused, and I had to do some looking into it. But anyways, I encourage you, if you haven't seen The Possession, to watch it.
I have not, and I need to watch it, and I will watch it too.
It's really good.
Okay, so this would be the part where we would do shout outs on Ghostly. There are two ways to get a shout out. You can give us a review on Apple Podcasts. We haven't gotten one of those in a while. Mm-hmm. We always love those really 5-star reviews. Yeah. And we love to read them too. It makes us, feel like validated for doing our work,
Yeah.
Even though we prefer those 5-star reviews, we're going to read any and all reviews that we get. Sometimes, sometimes the 1-star ones, are just a little funnier to me. I don't know, but I don't want those. But anyways, we'll take them if you have that. The second way is to become a member on Patreon. Just go to ghostlypodcast.com and click on Patreon in the menu bar. We have a lot of different tiers to choose from, and we are currently working on ideas for how to make Patreon even better. So if there is something that's holding you back from becoming a Patreon member and you would like to see that in order to make that step, let me know. Yeah.
I mean, right now you can get ad-free versions, get them a little early, just support us, obviously, is helpful. I
mean, that's what keeps us going.
It really does. Like, the ads are helpful, but Patreon is really helpful.
I mean, you might think that this doesn't cost anything. Ghostly actually cost more than you would probably imagine.
Yeah, for our little show. So
yeah, exactly.
And we, again, we're not in this to make buku bucks
we
or
put
anything
every
like
dollar
that.
back into Ghostly.
Absolutely. So we really appreciate all the help.
Yeah. And also, this would be our time to do listener mail, but I'm assuming we don't have any of those, right?
Not right now.
Okay.
But we'd love to get some.
So how do we get them then?
Yeah, so if you want to share your ghost story with us, you can email us at info@ghostlypodcast.com or use the contact us form on ghostlypodcast.com.
Okay, or, I always enjoy actually receiving mail in the mail the old-fashioned way, before this, like, internet kind of thing happened. And if you want to send us something, you could do it to P.O. Box number 264, Geneva, Illinois, 60134. And you're not going to remember any of that. And as I always say, it's in the footer of ghostlypodcast.com. Just go ahead and go to ghostlypodcast.com and scroll to the bottom.
There you go.
Also, this is the part where we would do Rebecca's ghost story, Rebecca's spooky tale.
Mm-hmm.
But this whole thing is a ghost story. So
it really is.
It is really difficult to come up with one, to make up one, from this. So I think we're going to bypass this week, if you're okay with that.
I'm okay with that because you've got a lot and I've got a lot to talk about this episode.
We definitely do.
I think we should get into
Jump right into it. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and we're going to take a small break, and when we return, we're going to get to the pet facts.
Get yourself in the mood.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Grab something to eat or pull over or do something.
You've never heard Pat give a history like this.
I've never done a history like this. Yeah, so.
All right, see you on the other side.
Pat's Facts. From a skeptic point of view. Pat's Facts. He presents it all to you. Pat's Facts.
All right. Let's just get into the Pat Facts.
All right, Pat Facts.
Okay, so complete transparency in this particular area. We just recorded this, and then something blew up, and it just started ringing to us. So there was an audio issue. Maybe ghost related, maybe not.
I'm a little creeped out.
We've recorded probably 50 episodes on this equipment, and it's never done that. Also, we've recorded other people's podcasts on this particular equipment, and it's never happened. So just putting it out there. All right. This is going to be a rather strange pet facts for y'all. If it sounds like I sound like I've said this before, obviously I have. So, but that just makes me even better at saying it.
There you
right?
go. Yes.
So, in our last time, I went through this and I said, I rewrote this like 10 different times because doing this history is just weird. Okay, because it's like, how do you tell a history of something like this? You'll understand more as we go. But anyways, the best way that I can do it is to read a description of an eBay item listing, because this item was sold on eBay. That's where the story kind of begins, almost.
Yeah, I would say
Although you're going to hear something of its history, just keep that in mind. And then we'll talk about it later.
Our knowledge starts here. Yes.
So there was a guy named Kevin Mannis. Okay. He was a writer, because you'll find out later, and a furniture refinisher. In 2003, he supposedly bought a wine cabinet from a yard sale in Portland, Oregon, run by a local attorney. Subsequent owners retold Mannis' story when reselling the item and amplified it with their own claims of strange phenomenon. Boop boo doo doo phenomena. Boop boo doo doo. Okay, anyways. So this is just kind of like playing telephone, right? When someone whispers something in your ear, you add your own little takes into it. So that's, anyways. One owner, Jason Haxton, who is the director of the Museum of Osteopathic Medicine in Kirksville, Missouri. I'm sure, that's on all of our destinations.
I mean, it sounds fun. I don't know.
He launched a website called Dybbuk.com that consolidated claims about the cabinet. The website reportedly received hundreds of thousands of hits and created what has been described as an internet legend. Now, that led to 2004, where Haxton sold the rights to the story to a Hollywood production company in the subsequent film, The Possession, that Rebecca spoke of. And it was produced by Sam Raimi. It was released in 2012, as Rebecca said. Haxton later gave the cabinet to Ghost Adventure star Zach Baggins, our good friend, friend of the show, to display in his museum. In 2018, fans of artist Post Malone I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that guy. He claimed that his contact with the cabinet caused his bad luck.
We're going to definitely dive into that later.
Yeah. So this item was listed on eBay, and here is the description. It is best for me just to read it in its entirety, and it's long.
Yeah, I mean, this is primary source. This is literally what was written.
Yeah, this is literally what was written in his post in 2003.
Yes.
All of the events. Oh, and by the way, I'm doing my best Kevin impression, and because I don't know who Kevin is, I'm just going to use my voice.
Okay.
So he sounds like me.
I actually have heard his voice, and he sounds like a regular guy.
Oh.
So close enough.
A regular Joe or Kevin?
Yeah.
Okay, all of the events that I am about to set forth in this listing are accurate and may be verified by the winning bidder with the copies of hospital records and sworn affidavits that I am including as part of the sale of the cabinet. During September of 2001, I attended an estate sale in Portland, Oregon. The items liquidated at the sale were from the estate of a woman who had passed away at the age of 103. A granddaughter of the woman told me that her grandmother had been born in Poland, where she grew up, married, raised a family, and lived until she was sent to a Nazi concentration camp during World War II. She was the only member of her family who survived the camp. Her parents, brothers, a sister, husband, and 2 sons and daughter were all killed. She survived the camp by escaping with some other prisoners and somehow making her way to Spain, where she lived until the end of the war. I was told that she acquired the small wine cabinet listed here in Spain, and it was one of only 3 items that she had brought with her when she immigrated to the United States. The other 2 items were a steamer trunk and a sewing box. I purchased the wine cabinet along with the sewing box and some other furniture at the estate sale. And after the sale, I was approached by the woman's granddaughter, who said, "I see you got the Dybbuk Box." She was referring to the wine cabinet. I asked her what a Dybbuk Box was, and she told me that when she was growing up, her grandmother always kept the wine cabinet in her sewing room. It was always shut and set in a place that was out of reach. The grandmother always called it the Dybbuk Box. When the girl asked her grandmother what was inside, her grandmother spit 3 times through her fingers, said a Dybbuk and a Keslam. The grandmother went on to tell the girl that the wine cabinet was never, ever to be opened.
Dun, dun, dun. Sounds like a preview to me.
The granddaughter told me that her grandmother had asked that the box be buried with her. However, as such a request was contrary to the rules of an Orthodox Jewish burial, the grandmother's request had not been honored. I asked the granddaughter what a Dybbuk Box and a Keslam were, but she did not know. I asked if she would like to open it with me. She did not want to open it, as her grandmother had been very emphatic and serious when she instructed her not to do so, and regardless of the reason, she wanted to honor her grandmother's request.
Smart.
I finally ended up offering to let her keep what seemed to me to be a sentimental keepsake. At that point, she was very insistent and said, No, you bought it." I explained that I didn't want my money back and that it would make me feel better to do what I thought was an act of kindness. She then became somewhat upset. Looking back now, the way she became upset was just plain odd. She raised her voice to me and said, "You bought it, you made a deal." When I tried to speak, she yelled, "We don't want it." She began to cry, asked me to leave, and quickly walked away. I wrote the whole episode off to the stress and grief that she must have been experiencing. I took my purchase and politely left. At the time when I bought the cabinet, I owned a small furniture refinishing business. I took the cabinet to my store and put it in the basement workshop where I intended to refinish it and give it as a gift to my mother. I didn't think anything more about it. I opened my shop for the day and went to run some errands, leaving the young woman who did sales for me in charge. After about a half hour, I got a call on my cell phone. The call was from my salesperson. She was absolutely hysterical and screaming that someone was in my workshop breaking glass and swearing. Furthermore, the intruder had locked the iron security gates and the emergency exit, and she couldn't get out. As I told her to call the police, my cell phone battery went dead. I hit speeds of 100 miles per hour getting back to the shop. When I arrived, I found the gates locked. I went inside and found my employee on the floor in a corner of my office sobbing hysterically. I ran to the basement and went downstairs, and at the bottom of the stairs, I was hit by an overpowering, unmistakable odor of cat urine. There had never been any animal kept or found in my shop. The lights didn't work. As I investigated, I found that the reason the lights didn't work also explained the sounds of glass breaking. All of the light bulbs in the basement were broken. All 9 incandescent bulbs had been broken in their sockets, and the 10 4-foot fluorescent tubes were lying shattered on the floor. I did not find an intruder, however. I should also add that there was only one entrance to the basement. It would have been impossible for anyone to leave without meeting me head on. I went back up to speak with my salesperson, but she had left. She never returned to work. After having been with me for 2 years, she refuses to discuss the incident to this day. I never thought of relating the event of that day to anything having to do with the cabinet. But then things got worse. As I already indicated, I have decided to give the cabinet to my mother as a birthday gift. About 2 weeks after I made the purchase, I decided to get started refinishing it. I was surprised to find that the cabinet had a unique little mechanism. When you open up the doors, the mechanism causes the opposite door and the little drawer below to open at the same time. It was very well made. Inside the cabinet, I found the following items: one 1928 U.S. wheat penny, one 1925 U.S. wheat penny, one small lock of blonde hair bound with string, one small lock of black brown hair bound with string, one small granite statue engraved and gilded with Hebrew letters, and I have been told that the letters spell out the word shalom, one dried rosebud, one golden wine cup, one very strange black cast iron candlestick holder with octopus legs. I saved all of these items in a box intending to return them to the estate. The family had refused the items, so they will be included in the sale of the cabinet. After opening the cabinet, I decided not to refinish it. I cleaned it and rubbed it with some lemon oil. It was at this time that I noticed that there was an inscription in Hebrew carved into the back of the cabinet. I have no idea what it says or if it's significant. I have included pictures of the inscription below. On my mother's birthday, October 28th, 2001, my mother called to tell me that she was going out of town with my sister for 3 days, and we postponed celebrating her birthday together until she returned. On October 31st, 2001, my mother came to my shop. We were going to have lunch together, but before we were going to leave, I gave her the wine cabinet. She seemed to like it. While she examined it, I went to make a phone call. I hadn't been out of sight for more than 5 minutes when one of my employees came running into my office saying that something was wrong with my mom. When I went back to see what the matter was, I found my mom sitting in a chair beside the cabinet. Her face had no expression, but tears were streaming down her cheeks. No matter how I tried to get her to respond, she would not. She could not. It turns out that my mother had suffered a stroke. She was taken to the hospital by ambulance. She ended up suffering partial paralysis and losing her ability to speak and form words. She has since regained the ability to speak. She could understand things being said to her and could respond by pointing to letters of the alphabet to spell out words she wanted to say. When I asked her the following day how she was doing, she teared up and spelled out the words, "no gift." I assured her that I had given her a gift for her birthday, thinking that she didn't remember, but she became even more upset and spelled out the words, "hate gift." I laughed and told her not to worry. I told her I was sorry she didn't like the cabinet and that I would get her anything she wanted if she would promise to get well soon. Still, I didn't associate anything that happened with the cabinet itself or anything paranormal. Frankly, I don't think I ever used the term paranormal until this last month. I'll try to make this short now. I gave the cabinet to my sister. She kept it for a week, then gave it back. She complained that she couldn't get the doors to stay closed and that they kept coming open. There are no springs in the door mechanism, and I have never found that the doors come open. I gave it to my brother and his wife, who kept it for 3 days, and then gave it back. My brother said it smelled like jasmine flowers, while his wife insisted that it put an odor of cat urine. I gave it to my girlfriend, who asked me to sell it for her after only 2 days. I sold it the same day to a nice middle-aged couple. 3 days later, when I came to open the shop for the day, I found the cabinet sitting at the front doors with a note that read, "This has a bad darkness." I had no idea what that meant. Anyway, I ended up taking it home. Then things got even worse. Since the day I brought it home, I began having a strange, reoccurring nightmare. Every time I have the horrible dream, it goes something like this. I find myself walking with a friend, usually someone I know well and trust, at some point in the dream. I find myself looking into the eyes of the person that I am with. It is then that I realize that there is something different, something evil looking back at me. And that point in my dream, the person I am with changes into what can only be described as the most gruesome, demonic-looking hag that I had ever seen. This hag proceeds then to beat the living tar out of me. I have awakened numerous times to find bruises and marks on myself where I had been hit by the old woman during the previous night. Still, I never related the nightmare to the cabinet, nor do I think that I ever would have. And about a month ago, however, my sister and my brother and his wife came over to my house and spent the night. The following morning during breakfast, my sister complained that she had a horrible nightmare. She said that she recalled having had it a couple of times before and went on to describe my nightmare exactly to the last detail. My brother and his wife froze as they listened, and they chimed in that they had both had the exact same dreams during the night as well. The hair was standing up on the back of my neck and still is. As we talked, it became clear that the common denominator was that each of us had the nightmare during the times that the cabinet was in our respective homes. I called my girlfriend and asked if she could recall having any nightmares recently. She described the same nightmare, same hag, everything. When I asked her if she remembered the date when she had the nightmare, she said she did not. Then I asked if it happened to be the night before she gave me the cabinet back to sell for her. She said, "Yeah, hey, how did you know that?" Now, then, since my family discussion, it seems like all hell is breaking loose. For a week afterwards, I started seeing what I can only describe as shadow things in my peripheral vision. In fact, numerous visitors to my house have claimed that they have seen these shadow things. I put the cabinet in an outside storage unit and was awakened when the smoke alarm in the unit went off in the middle of the night. When I went to see what was burning, I opened the door and didn't see any smoke. However, I did get a hit of that smell of cat urine. When I went back inside, the smell was there in my house. I do not own a cat, and I never have. I went back outside and grabbed the cabinet. I brought it back inside and tried to research it on the internet. While I was surfing the net, I fell asleep and once again had the same frickin' nightmare. I woke up at around 4:30 a.m. when it felt and smelled like someone was breathing on my neck. To find that my house now smelled like jasmine flowers, and just in time to see a huge shadowed thing go looping down the hall away from me. I would destroy this thing in a second, except I really don't have any understanding of what I may or may not be dealing with. I'm afraid, and I do not mean afraid, that if I destroy the cabinet, whatever it is that seems to have come with the cabinet may just stay here with me. I've been told that there are people who shop on eBay that understand these kinds of things, and Specifically, look for these kind of items. If you are one of these people, please, please, please buy this cabinet and do whatever you do with a thing like this. Help me. You can see that I have no reserve price or minimum bid. If I can make things any easier, let me know, and I will do everything within my abilities. One more note. On the same day my mom had her stroke, the lease to my store was similarly terminated without cause. All right,
Ooh.
Pat from Ghostly here.
That there was some twists and turns in that one.
Wow. Okay, we got through it. And so
did.
far,
Very impressed.
no sudden beeping, and the recording seems to be going okay. Oh, wait, I didn't hit record. No, I'm just kidding. So just some things to talk about here. In Jewish mythology, a Dybbuk is a malicious possessing spirit believed to be a dislocated soul of a dead person.
Yes.
And it supposedly leaves the host body once it has accomplished its goal, or sometimes after being exorcised.
So yeah, it's kind of like, instead of the Catholic Church, it's like the Jewish version of
the
being
synagogue?
possessed.
Oh, okay.
And needing things to be exorcised.
Sure.
And they're in the movie, they're actually like, there was an exorcism that happens and everything. It's like a whole thing. That's a little bit outside of like what actually has
I wonder
happened,
what David
but
Vox Mullen will say about
I
this.
am very curious.
Yeah. So do you have anything to add to this particular part of it? We have more to talk about.
We have so much more to talk about. I think I'm good. We'll get to other things as we go, but it's just, that is the original post that he put out there to try to get rid of this thing.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. When we return. All right, Rebecca, we are back. I know we're going to do a debate, but I would like to, in full disclosure,
yes,
it has come to my attention doing this research that there is some tomfoolery involved. So according to Manus, the carving in the back of it is in his carving. It's him. He did it. The stone that was in the box is something that is a signature creation of his. Make no mistake, he conceived the Dybbuk Box. The name, the term, the idea, and he wrote a creative story around it to post on eBay and to make a couple bucks. How do you feel about that?
So you did give me a heads up and on full disclosure. So that is, I could not find anything to disprove that. Like he has said, like he made up the story.
Well, you said that there was one thing that
now we can go from this, right? So, but the basic concept.
First of all, do you believe this particular part?
I do.
He created this story, or at least said he created this story.
Yes. There you go. I do believe that. Yes.
So that is a 10. that
yes,
you believe
a 10
that.
That I believe that he said that he created the story.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And so for the sake of this episode, going into my first evidence here, we're going to start from the premise that he did make up that story, did the carvings, all of that. So we're going to focus our evidence, at least at first here, on the what happened after he owned it.
Okay.
Right?
So in Haxon or something?
Well, there were a few more. There were a few
Okay.
people in there. We don't know their names, but then eventually Haxon is kind of, in a way, the last owner before
Mr. Baggins.
Mr. Baggins, yeah.
And not Bilbo or Frodo.
No, and yeah.
It's got nothing to do with the ring.
I honestly, I feel bad because I feel like he actually says his name slightly differently, and I don't remember.
Oh,
but
okay.
That's okay. We're gonna say Baggins.
Manus or Haxon?
No, Baggins.
Oh, Baggins, yeah.
He's like says Baggins or something. I forget.
Well, he can say whatever he wants.
All right. So, okay. So while he may have made up the story, these things afterward, I believe, prove that it's cursed.
Okay.
Okay. So as I mentioned, there's several owners after him. We don't have all their names, but they reported their experiences to one of the last known owners, Jason Haxton, who started a website, as you mentioned, to collect all of these.
Yes.
So let's start with one common experience.
Okay.
Which is that people claim to hear voices and unexplained noises from the box.
Okay.
This was reported by one of the previous owners, as well as its current owner, Zach Baggins. Supposedly Zach opened the cover over the box in 2018, and we will talk more about that next.
Okay.
But one of the claims from that incident is that he heard the voice of a little girl, and hearing voices from the box was also in the movie. Just putting that out there.
Of course, yeah.
So what do you think as far as like people hearing voices from the box?
So first thing, I want to pose the question. Does art imitate life? Or does life create art? You know, what is it? What comes first? Is it the story that came first, or did these people not know it? Obviously, these people knew of these stories, of these claims
as
when
you
they
said,
bought it.
Right, like people would share this when they bought it.
Because I'm sure that there was a premium price involved in purchasing this particular item. That was a lot of plosives there, a lot of P's. You know?
Yeah.
So that is something that I want to take into mind when we're talking about this. Also, let's look at our voices that we are hearing this story from, right? Supposedly, we're hearing it from Haxton.
Yes.
Who bought this box and who eventually sold this wine cabinet box, whatever we want to call it. It's called a Dybbuk Box, so I'm just going to call it a box.
Yeah. Sold
this box or made money off of this box to make a movie.
Yes, number one.
I'm sure. And he also created a website that got several hits that he probably profited on. I mean, not only probably, he absolutely profited on. When a site gets that many hits, all it takes is like Google AdSense. Which we do not have on Ghostly, by the way, which we probably should. But we do not have that. And we do not do marketing research based upon our site, which he might have done.
Well, and also that website then is what led to his next thing.
Yes. So taking that into account, and then the other voice that we are hearing this from is Mr. Zach Baggins, whatever we were going to call the man, who profits off of ghost stories. So I don't think that these voices that we are hearing these stories from are legitimate voices that I have no stake in the game. I believe that they are vested in this game. Hence the reason why this box has just made money the whole entire time based upon this history. So for the last 22 years now, it has made money based upon this ludicrous story that made me spend a half hour talking about so that we can get the whole idea out to you guys. So that is my thought. I don't care about the voices of the little girl, and like to actually talk about that particular part is, who's this little girl? What does she have to do with the box? So if it's a ghost, right? Doesn't that ghost have to come from somewhere? Where did it come from?
Know.
Did it come from Haxton? Did it come from Zach Bagianias? What is the history of this girl? It doesn't make any sense to me. It sounds like something to sell a movie. So what are your thoughts of this?
So it's hard with this one because the voices piece, unlike some other things we're going to talk about, there is not as much hard evidence. Like some of the other things, like there is evidence of, but this is not one that I could find a ton of. So, I mean, I'm open to the concept of it, but I'm more skeptical of this particular piece.
And in this day and age, I think that we have to be more concerned on what we are classifying as evidence, because we do have things like AI. I watched a video of a YouTuber that I watch. She was able to duplicate her voice and create like an ad using AI that was indistinguishable.
In the future, you guys, we won't even have to record these episodes.
Yeah.
We'll just come up with the script and then have AI read it for us.
Or it'll do it all for us.
Yeah.
We won't even have to just go
it'll
through an idea when we finally sell it to the movies. And we become the next Zake Bagans.
All right, what's your rating?
0.
Okay, I'm going to give it a 4.
4. I don't. This doesn't happen very often.
It's going to go up from here. That's my low.
Yes,
Don't worry, everybody.
Okay, you're starting off low.
The creepy is coming.
Okay,
all right.
I'm waiting for it.
Okay, so
because people have died, right? Reportedly with this particular box. Okay,
supposedly.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm not. We're gonna not go too into depth with some of that stuff, but we'll get there. All right, so let's talk about the most popular story regarding the box. So that if you are looking online, other than what you read, is Post Malone. You mentioned Post Malone,
and this is after Post Malone became famous. So this isn't pre Malone. This is Post Malone. Isn't that how that goes? Right.
I was not ready for that one. Yes, this
I just thought of that one. I don't know. It's stupid. This is not pre-Malone.
Sorry. All right.
What would the during Malone be? Is it just Malone then?
Just Malone then,
okay,
I think. Okay.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, Zach Bagans took the case off of the Dybbuk Box display in 2018.
Now, I wonder if Mr. Bagans paid for the box. That is also like a question that I have, because it sounds like he was just given the box.
It could be. I'm not sure.
He is gifted a lot of things.
He is, because people don't want it anymore, and they're like, "This is doing a lot of bad things to me." So you take it and put it.
I wonder if he has things like bequest to him.
Oh, sure.
You want to explain
bequeathed
bequeathed,
like in their will.
In their will, when someone dies. I wonder if he has
I wouldn't
any.
be surprised.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, that's okay. So when he didn't open the box in 2018.
Yes.
He does do it later, and we will talk about that. But in 2018, all he did was take the protective glass case that was over the box and the display off. But he was not alone when he did this. Post Malone.
He wasn't alone.
Him.
He was with Post Malone. Okay.
So while recounting the visit, Bagans said, so this is how he describes what happened, that he and Malone decided to go into the room that houses the Dybbuk Box and that he ended up removing the protective case over it.
Now, okay, so it sounds like this has its own room too in his museum.
Yes.
Like no other items in there? Or?
I don't know.
Okay.
But it was the room that has it in it.
Okay,
I don't.
yeah.
There could be other things.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful item, Bagans said. I didn't want to open it. I just wanted to take the case off. To make a long story short, we began hearing things. After hearing what sounded like, quote, a little girl's voice, Bagans said that he and the Better Now musician quickly ran down the stairs and away from the exhibit. They eventually went back, and that's when Bagans said that they started feeling, quote, something wasn't right. Continuing the quote, I remember putting my hand on the box, and at that exact moment, Post put his hand on my shoulder.
Oh, so it's like getting electrocuted. If you touch someone getting electrocuted, okay.
Yep. At that moment, it was like something came through the box and into him, and I began shaking. I began trembling. This is kind of embarrassing, but I began crying.
Or let's say weeping. It sounds better.
It's his quote. I can't change it, but you can say that.
I will say he was weeping.
Okay.
Yeah.
I began screaming, and this is when he got me out of the room forcefully. Baggins said that after they went downstairs, Malone saw a dark shadow figure outside. The next day, Malone sent Baggins a photo of a massive bruise on his arm.
And just to be fair, too, Malone didn't have tattoos on his face going into this. And then after, he just had these tattoos on his face.
That is not true.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
In several interviews since then, Malone claims that he was cursed for at least a month after this. We watched a video of him, right?
Yeah.
He was being interviewed on something.
Seth Meyers,
Seth
I
Meyers,
believe.
yeah. In the months that followed, here is what Post Malone experienced. And these are all things that literally did happen in a very short period of time. One, his private jet was forced to make an emergency landing after its tires blew off.
Oh,
That's
my God.
pretty scary.
Yeah, but poor guy. I mean, his private plane.
I mean, it's still scary.
That's why you pay for the private plane, right? Is so you don't have experiences like this. Like, I always fly with a private plane.
I mean,
you know? I don't know about you guys, but private planes are a must.
Yeah.
You know?
3 armed robbers targeted a home in the San Fernando Valley that they believed to be his. And
obviously, it wasn't his.
I'm
because
guessing
they
not.
believed
Yeah.
it. Okay.
His Rolls Royce was involved in a serious car accident.
Oh my God! His Rolls Royce and everything.
So lots of bad luck, which is a consistent theme with owners. It's just like a lot of bad things happen. And then the dark shadows and bruises that he also experienced are also claims made by multiple previous owners.
Okay. So what I would like to start off with Post Malone. I asked you to add the Post Malone thing to this. Because,
Well, and I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
So Post Malone is a interesting guy. So I to be totally honest and transparent, I do not watch Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil is no friend of Mr. Harrington here, you know. I don't like, you know, what he does. I don't like how he treats some people. I don't like some of his therapy. I don't like a lot of things about Dr. Mr. Phil. But I sometimes, when I'm working, I will leave a TV station on that does play it at around 2 p.m. And I happen to walk downstairs. You're going to be like, why does this have anything to do with it?
All I'm going to say is that it's very clear from the story that you are absolutely a Dr. Phil watcher and watch it every day. That's what I take away from
It's
this
called
story.
a philanic, okay? I am a philanic. No, I'm not. Okay, so anyways, I got caught up in this story, though, because it was so crazy. Dr. Phil is friends with Post Malone.
Oh.
I don't know why Post Malone has all these friends
Well,
that
he's
are
a friendly guy.
He is. He seems like a really cool guy. I would love to meet Post Malone. In fact, Post Malone, this is an invitation.
Open invitation.
Open invitation to come on Ghostly and talk about whatever you want.
Yes.
Even if it's explicit, we will put explicit on the episode. We'll do whatever we need to for Post Malone to get his story out, okay? But there was an elderly woman on this show that claimed that she was dating Post Malone, but had never actually been in the same room with Post Malone. Now, she said her claims were that sometimes he would call with a Jamaican accent and ask her for money because, first of all, he likes to play games. And second of all, he has to prove that she wants him for him, not because he's Post Malone, you know.
This poor lady.
This poor lady, yeah. And also, she, I don't want to get into details of this particular part of the story, but that some stuff would happen to her involving her cell phone, which would, like things you don't want to hear about an older woman experiencing with a cell phone.
No, it sounds like she was getting catfished.
I don't know. Maybe it's Post Malone. She said that he has, like, he's very powerful.
I don't think this was Post Malone.
He's powerful, though, and he's got this ability, this magic power to be able to do stuff through phones and stuff
I
like
see.
that.
So does this mean you believe then?
I am going to actually give this one a 1. only because of how crazy the Dr. Phil episode was with that.
I was not.
Nothing to do with the
Zake
Zake Baggins or whatever.
Oh,
Ezekiel Baggins there. I don't, no love lost there. I will say that this is just pure craziness. Was this on a episode of Ghost
It was
Hunters?
not.
Okay, this is all a private thing.
This is a private thing. Mm-hmm.
The thing that's really interesting is in the Post Malone thing, he was like, shout out to Zach. Zach, give me a call. I want to hang out again. Mm-hmm. Why do you want to hang out with this guy again if this is the stuff that happens when you hang out with him?
I mean, I think when I listened to the interview with Post Malone, it sounded like, I mean, he definitely believes that it's because of this, but it was more of like an indirect thing. Like,
it is circumstantial evidence here.
Well, it was just more like it was not a great time, but he made it through and
also,
he's okay.
To say you are cursed, but you are Post Malone that I just saw playing a halftime of a Christmas football game on the NFL in primetime TV. He was not the total star. It was Beyonce, I believe, but Post Malone came out to, do a little ditty with her.
Well, I mean, again,
speaking
he's not.
of Diddy, I'm glad we're not talking about Diddy because this would go totally different.
This is a different thing.
No
All
baby oil involved in this one.
No. Anyways, I think he definitely had some bad luck. I mean, just again, it shows how powerful this thing is, even if you're just getting it like indirectly.
Okay, but think of this too. You're Post Malone, and Zach Baggins touches this item and starts weeping, and then starts screaming. So what are you going to do? You're going to try to get Zach out of the room. So I think Post Malone is innocent in this particular regard. And of course, then he is going to relate the bad luck that he is having currently to this particular situation.
Yeah.
So how do you rate this?
I'm giving this one a 6.
A 6, okay.
Yeah.
Because you're a Post Malone fan?
I mean, it's all right. I like him.
I know you're more
nice
of a Jelly Roll fan than a Post Malone fan. I only say that because they both have tattoos on their face. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, go ahead.
All right, let's keep moving on. Now we're going to do another short one here.
Yes. Okay.
Which is losing eyesight.
Mm-hmm.
Now, losing eyesight meaning not necessarily going totally blind, but like whatever, something happening and your eyesight getting worse, or either permanently or temporarily. Now, this is actually a story that Manus told after saying
that he faked everything.
That he faked the story. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about where I heard that a little bit later.
Okay.
But he says that there are a lot of people who've told him about losing their eyesight as part of the history of the box. I mean, again, it was part of his story, but then also in real life, his mom did lose her eyesight. Okay. Because she did have a stroke. Yeah. Like that is all real. Mm-hmm. And then Jason Haxton also has had eye issues. And there's a Manus was on a podcast where he claimed like as he was on the podcast and he's telling his story, the guy actually says
his story.
The Manus is telling his
story,
his
story. Not the his story.
Oh no, his story, his story, his story. Anyways,
I want to hear her story, not history.
There you go. Anyways, that he's like, wow, like you're telling me about this. He's like, I have to tell you. He's like, this whole episode, I have been having eye issues, and I had to have my wife had to actually bring me like eye drops, and I was like having trouble with my vision. Okay. And so, anyways, it's a repeated theme.
Okay, so Manus's mom having a stroke obviously has nothing to do with this box, though. I mean, she would have probably had the stroke without the box, as Manus made up the stories that were associated with it. I know that you're still saying that
we're gonna get to what I think might have happened.
Okay, yeah,
we'll keep going.
But my thought here so far is that she had a stroke, and it can affect your vision. It definitely can. Okay.
Yeah.
So Manus's mom, check. I feel that one could happen.
Right.
Any other way. Okay. Haxton having an eye issue. We don't know Hexton's medical history. We don't know anything about him. Also, could be circumstantial. And then Manus claimed he was on a podcast.
The podcast host.
I don't know the podcast, but I'm assuming you would have Manus on to talk about the box.
Yes.
You know? So I think that is all in selling the story, you know, I think. And also, too, I don't know this podcast host. Maybe it was Bob. You know, we don't know. I haven't asked Bob about the Dybbuk Box, but maybe it was Bob.
He was probably like 5 years old. I don't know. It's sure a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't think podcasts were around then. But anyways, I'm gonna say that that I don't know the host, so I can't say anything. So this evidence to me means very little because it's got no meat or potatoes to this particular story. It doesn't mean anything to anything. First of all, eyesight problems. Okay, 3 people had eyesight problems. How many people were associated with this box?
Well, and there could be more.
Did Mr. Baggins have eyesight?
He says there could be more. I don't think Baggins has said anything about eyesight.
I'm going to give this one a 0 because it's just like this could be anything. It could also be dust particles or some kind of allergen that is causing the cat urine that is making people have eye issues then all of a sudden. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the box is made of. I've never seen the box, never touched the box. I definitely have never smelled the box, and I don't think I want to. But I'm going to give this one a 0 because that all of these claims could have happened on their own. Nothing is saying supernatural to me in this.
Okay. I'm going to go 6 just because, again, there are...
Because you like that number?
I do. It just tips a little bit into the believer for me that there's been a lot of reports. So.
Out of a scale from 1 to 10, what is your favorite number?
8.
Okay, so we haven't gotten an 8 yet.
I always tell people if I ever say, you know, pick a number between 1 and 10, it's always going to be 8.
Well, don't say that because then it could be... that could be used against you.
I know, but they just never seem to remember. I don't get it.
Well, I do remember, but I wanted the audience to hear this. So, okay. Anyways, go ahead. All
right, let's move on.
Okay.
So the thing, so let's kind of categorize things a little bit better, right?
Yes,
so
let's do that.
So the things mentioned with the box fall into 4 categories, and we've talked about most of these, right? So we're going to talk about another one, but I just want to rehash real quick. So 1 is people have nightmares.
Yes, they do.
2, there's a lot of poltergeist activity. So strange smells we talked about, electrical disturbances, which we just had evidence of while recording this podcast.
Or did we?
Question. Physical symptoms, which
Well, in fact, let me say that the piece of equipment that we record on has a power switch. When the thing started beeping, I tried to turn the power switch off and it would not allow me to turn it off.
Yeah.
I had to unplug it from the wall in order to do that.
Yeah.
So anyways, but okay, go ahead.
Physical symptoms. So we talked about bruising and the eyesight. There's also rashes, coughing, nausea, other unexplained injuries, and emotional distress. So again, people are upset with it.
Okay.
So, but we're going to bring in something new, which is seeing an entity.
Ooh, okay.
So this is from our friend, Mr. Baggins.
Okay.
The scariest moment for me is what I saw and felt. Baggins says of opening the box. So this is in 2020 when he did record an episode.
Oh, okay. Of course. Yeah.
We captured on camera an unbelievable mist coming out of the box that manifested eyes.
Out of nowhere. Like googly eyes?
I don't know.
Okay.
The lead investigator also believes that he saw the Dybbuk entity crouching down towards the wall behind the box.
Okay, so Dybbuk is obviously a Jewish thing, right?
Yes.
There is no substantial evidence that this was ever owned by a Jewish person.
Kevin is a Jewish person.
Kevin is a Jewish person. That's how he knew how to write the inscription on the back.
Yeah.
But I mean, his timing and everything like that is totally made up. This didn't come from a concentration camp woman or anything like that. That part was all made up. All of this stuff is made up. So I believe anybody that buys this box, first of all, this is just to go over your your categories. Anyone that buys this box buys it with the intention of proving paranormal activity. There's no other reason to buy this box. It's not because it looks lovely and it would fit perfectly in my, formal dining room. It's not a bad looking box. I'm sure it's not, but that's not your purpose in buying it, though. You could buy other boxes for that amount of money. I'm just saying that they buy it with the intention of proving paranormal activity. So when you set out to do something like that, your intention is there. Intention has a lot to do with things, That means that anything that comes past your eye is automatically proof that this is what you paid that top dollar for. Okay, as for the other thing,
the entity in the eyes.
The friend that we have that was on a ghost hunter, ghost adventurer, right? That's what Zach is on. Episode claimed that he faked shadow people. He said that when he was leaving his set, he was an actor and he recorded. And if you go back in ghostly history, you can figure out who this person is. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want lawsuits without, them listening to 100 episodes before they can figure that out. Anyways, so he said that that's the lengths that they would go to. When he was leaving, he saw people in black leotards, black full body costumes, like, the green suits that people will wear to disappear. They were in all black to shoot shadow people. That's the lengths that he would go to make this seem as if it was something. And every one of his episodes has something. And every one of his episodes has some creepiness beyond that Zach needs to wear a respirator. Zach falls to the floor. Zach starts weeping. Zach is like, he's got to be the weakest person ever born. He's always succumbing to these things. I'm going to say that this is a 0.
So I'm going to give a 0 to the entity thing.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm sorry. Like, first of all,
you're sorry, though?
Baggins is the only person who's claimed to see an entity.
Yeah.
Like, everybody else has had weird stuff happen.
Even though it's on camera, though.
I mean...
But you give it a 0. I've never heard of you giving a 0 except for on a episode where it was an introduction to the opposites.
I mean, I guess I could give it a 2 just as a possibility. There's something.
No, I'm going to go with your first one.
But
0
it bothers me because that's like all the other things are things that like multiple people can claim, but not that. So it bothers me because I think it takes away from the legitimate concern that there is about this box.
Okay, and that is coming up next.
And that's coming up next. And I'm just going to actually start with saying something that you mentioned, a word that you mentioned, which is intention.
Yeah.
And so some of the questions that we have about the box and whether or not, it's really possessed or haunted or cursed is really the word we're using for this. A lot of people will take it back to Manus's intention. So his intention was to create a creepy story to sell this box. But in doing so, did he make it into something more? Okay.
So my question for you then is, what is a recipe for creating a haunted item then?
Yeah.
So let's go over some key things that would need to be there.
I think one, like a word out there, and I'm going to read some other things that I think will be helpful support, but like the concept of a tulpa is one that's come up before, which often is a haunted thing, and it's haunted because people pour their energy into this thing, because people believe that it's haunted, act like it's haunted, act like it's cursed in this situation, and pour their energy into it, that it makes it a cursed item, even if it wasn't that before.
So it's because of Post Malone.
He's added to it.
A lot of energy, would you say? Would you say his fame makes him more?
Well, that's something. Maybe it revived it. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he caused other people to believe now, and that put even more on it.
That's very
right?
possible.
Okay.
Very possible.
I am saying this, but I don't believe it. But go ahead.
Okay. So, and then let's go back to Manus himself. Okay. So Zach Baggins is who he is, divisive figure, right? And he posted on his Facebook page after it came out that Kevin Manus made up his story. It's a super long post. I have a bunch here. It's like a quarter, maybe less, of what he posted. So I'm just going to include a few quotes from Manus that Zach mentions. Okay. So this is, okay. So he says, once the box leaves my possession, it boggles the mind, the things that have happened around this thing. I can't explain it, certainly. So that is a quote from Manus. Okay. Continuing on. I don't have a good explanation for why Haxton says his eyes started bleeding. Oh, yeah, that's right. His eyes started bleeding, supposedly. That's his eye thing. He and I and Baggins all had the same sewer problems that we've had when we owned this box. I can't say anything about the 24 national radio broadcasts that Jason Haxton and I have done together, where every single broadcast, without fail, the stations go down and go off the air for a certain period of time. Then we start getting phone calls as producers are starting to get lesions on their arms. I have no idea or concept of how that could happen. A woman called in and said that when she was driving in her truck, pulled up a picture of the box, her truck caught on fire. Another guy called in and said all the light bulbs in his house burst. Now, this quote that Zach posted from Manus is from a podcast. He claims it's from a podcast that Manus was on after he said all of this, after saying that he made up the story. So I actually found the podcast. Because I thought, okay, it's Zach Baggins. I'm not just going to trust Zach Baggins. So I did listen to it. He did it back in 2021. Because 2021 was when he kind of came out with this. I made it up. And it's called the Broken Promises podcast. So I definitely encourage everyone to go check it out to hear Kevin directly. He admits that he created the story, but he also says that he did have bad things happen after he put the story out and after he sold it.
I wonder why he came forward with the truth finally, though.
Yeah, part of me wonders if like someone was going to expose him, because I did read a thing that someone looked at the box itself and did some historical research and is like, this is not a box from World War II.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too.
Yeah, right.
It's
so maybe he realized, okay, well, they're going to expose me, so I better come out.
Okay,
I don't know.
All right.
But now Manus supposedly sent this message to Baggins and then deleted it on Facebook. I created the box to do and be everything it has done. However, it has gotten out of control. Everything that has occurred is real and has happened. It simply has gotten out of control and manifested events and occurrences beyond what I ever imagined. Look, since I said what I said, there has been a bleep storm of horror raining down. Poop storm of horror raining down that I haven't experienced in 20 years. The full real story of what I have done and what has happened since, to the people around me and the guy I sold the box to on eBay, and Jason and the people around him, and the people who simply have tuned in to the dozens of radio broadcasts and podcasts where they have reported on being afflicted with lesions and rashes, is all real and out of my control. So again, I don't know. I don't know if what happened, but this is something that, according to Zach Baggins, the first quote I can confirm. The second quote is Zach saying this is a message he received, but then was deleted. But he managed to save it.
I think we should also put a disclaimer on this particular episode when you're doing the show notes, by the way. Saying, and when you're doing the social media post, saying that anybody listens to this episode may be cursed.
Listen at your own risk.
Yeah. And that goes for every ghost episode,
true. But now that we're talking about curses.
Yeah. Because even though I don't believe, I don't want you to have bad experiences too.
Right.
You know, whatever. But,
so I guess what I took from that though is the stuff in the story wasn't real, but that the things, according to Kevin, the things that have happened since then are real. And he believes that by creating this story and this mythology for this item that he has caused these things to happen.
You know, it sounds like your best friend that hooked up with your current lover and is now explaining why she had to do that particular thing. Like she had to do this because like this is what it is, and you know, like I've done wrong, but he's also done wrong, and you know, it's like this is a liar is a liar is a liar. Okay, that is what it is. Once you've exposed one lie about a particular topic, like I'm not even saying that he lied about his taxes or something like that. He might have, but we caught him in a lie about this box, right? He admitted to this lie that he had told. So what's going to happen in another 10 years? Is he going to come out and say, you know what? I made all that other stuff up too. And all this stuff that Haxton had and all this stuff that Bigianas has had, you know, Zach Bigianas or whatever we're going to pronounce his name as, whatever, you know, that he also is in on the thing or whatever. We don't know what's going to come out. And I'm just saying this is just too little, too late. You know, okay, maybe you caused harm, but maybe it has nothing to do with it. Because in my book, a recipe for a possessed box would have to have a demon. So are you calling upon a demon? Are you summoning a demon? Are you like, what is the magic spell that you did to put the demon on this particular thing? I want this to be something that you could reproduce so that I can then say, yes, for sure that this is what it is. So when I'm looking for things that are repeatable in that regard, you know, because that is the only way that you can prove anything. That is how we get past the deep fakes and all the other stuff that are about to emerge about all these things is, you know, yeah, this person said these bad things. Did they say it again? Did they, you know, is this a one-time thing? Then maybe it is that, you know, this person lied and this person is discredited in my book.
And I feel like we're kind of moving into final arguments in a way. So I don't know.
I don't think we need to do closing arguments.
Yeah. So let me just say my thing and then we'll.
Yeah. So 0 for me for
zero
this.
For you for yeah. And for me is that so I think that's a good point about things being repeatable. And I do think it does put a mark on him, right? That he came out and said, no, I did make up this first part. But the things that have happened since then are, you know, things that have repeated. I mean, that's a lot of people to involve in a conspiracy. So
all knowing victims of this particular thing, all people that got into it because they wanted to, not people that are innocent.
Well, I don't know all the people that bought it, if they all totally understood if they really believed.
So,
some of them supposedly bought it to debunk it, but then were like, nope, this is legit. Well,
but still they know going into it, these are the stories about this particular thing. So they're not innocent. If I bought it, I am not innocent. And anything that happens to me, I got what I was looking for. You know?
Well, yeah. But again, am I putting my energy into it and then making the curses happen? So anyway, so for me, I'm going to give it, I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 7.
We didn't get up to that magic 8.
No, there is a thing, you know, yeah.
All right, so we are going to bypass the final arguments as this has gone really long.
Yeah.
So we're just going to get to the end here. Don't let your friends miss out on the chills. Share Ghostly with them and help us grow this community of paranormal enthusiasts. Your support means the world to us.
Absolutely.
Shout out to our VIP producers who make this all possible. Andrew,
Alicia,
Becky,
Cindy,
Kevin,
Jessica,
Alice,
Aaron,
Hope,
and Candy.
Is it real? You be the judge. Share your verdict at ghostlypodcast.com poll section and let the debate continue. Subscribe to Ghostly now and get ready for more spine-tingling encounters with the unknown. And on the next episode of Ghostly, so I tasked Rebecca with, I came up with the Dybbuk Box. Yes. I wanted to do this because I found it in a search. Mm-hmm. But I don't want this to be me. it looks really bad. It's like I'm picking evidence that I can dispute. So I wanted Rebecca to find one.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, she found 2. So the next 2 episodes are going to be about haunted items.
You bet.
Rebecca, what's the next one?
The next one is going to be super famous, the Hope Diamond.
Ooh.
Very famously cursed. It's very excited.
Wow,
And it
okay.
comes out on January 29th.
Okay. All right. Well, until next time, stay ghostly.
Bye.